Joining us now, Amber Barno, an Army veteran and a military advisor at Concerned Veterans for America. Amber, we thank you very much for being with us today here on America's Forum.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Amber, we have a report from CNN we saw earlier. A VA scheduler in Texas admitting today that they were, quote, cooking the books to hide the fact that some vets had to wait weeks and months for appointments. In view of that, is it time now for Secretary Shinseki to resign?
It is definitely time for Secretary Shinseki to resign. He has done a great service to his country as a military officer, as a career military officer. But unfortunately, as the Secretary of the Department of Veteran Affairs, he has failed America's veterans. He's had the time, the asset, the resources, and especially the funding to get the VA back on track and to fix some of these critical issues to the point where some veterans are dying because of ethical mismanagement within the VA. And it's time for him to go and allow some fresh leadership to come in and really restructure the VA back to a customer service or back to a customer service oriented organization to service veterans.
Well, your situation, Amber, as a young veteran, have you had any interaction as a patient in VA hospitals?
When I transitioned out of the military about 4 years ago, I did work with a little bit with the VA. My experience was not positive at all, but I have talked to people who have had a very positive experience, and that's one of the broader issues within the VA is there's very inconsistent care. So you could go to the Washington, D.C. area and have a great experience with all different aspects of the VA, but then you go to, rural Kentucky and you go to a facility that where these wait times are very extended and there's poor medical care and sanitation and some malpractice issues and terrible leadership and mismanagement. So there's big systemic issues within the VA that have to be addressed.
And it appears there's a real paradox, Amber, because in one sense, on certain issues, when it comes to dealing with post-traumatic stress, for example, when it comes to some breakthroughs in terms of orthopedic surgery, prosthetics, dealing with battlefield wounds, there is some, for lack of a better term, cutting-edge research and innovation done through the VA, and yet it is such a large bureaucracy that you mentioned the inconsistencies a little bit earlier. My old colleague in the House, Louis Gohmert, says, hey, take a look at what's going on in the VA. That's what awaits all of America with Obamacare. Do you think Congressman Gohmert is on to something with that assessment?
He absolutely is. If you have any experience with the VA healthcare system, you are most likely not going to be a fan of Obamacare. It's the same sort of bureaucracy that you're going to see, the long wait times, the inconsistent care, the red tape, the not being able to get a hold of anyone, a terrible website. It's government-run healthcare, and it doesn't work. And unfortunately, we're having to see so many veterans, just as we are with all these whistleblowers coming forward. Some of them are dying and suffering the consequences of a failed and bloated bureaucracy.
Amber, yesterday on this program, former House Speaker Newt Gingrich was here with us. And in addition to decrying and actually asking for the resignation of Secretary Shinseki, even as Newt made the distinction, as you did earlier, about the fact that as a military officer, as an Army officer, General Shinseki obviously had a laudatory career there, but now there are problems with his leadership at the VA. Newt made a point in terms of a possible solution, and I want to make sure I say this the right way, to basically voucherize health care or to authorize veterans to take a dollar amount of taxpayer funds and go into the health care system at large, not to be relegated to VA treatment centers as first and last resort. Your assessment of that call from former Speaker Gingrich to allow veterans to move outside the VA system provided that taxpayer provisions are made for the coverage of our veterans?
Well, I think that one of the key issues, aside from accountability, oversight, and transparency needed to fix the VA, I also think flexibility is key, and that's exactly what Newt Gingrich hit on, is that veterans need to be provided with choice. So if they have a VA facility that they don't agree with, or they don't think they're getting the care that they deserve, then they should be able to have that taxpayer-funded vouchers, so to speak, to go to their own doctor of choice. There's an excellent example of that is TRICARE, which active duty military members use. There's two versions of TRICARE. There's primary and standard, and I'm referring to the standard form. And it's where, yes, it's provided and paid for by the taxpayer, but you also have a copay. And so me personally, I would rather pay a very small copay and choose my own doctor and go see whoever I need to see when I choose, rather than being told what doctor I'm going to go see, have to wait in those lines, have to wait months to get an appointment, and not receive the care that I feel that I need.
Amber, during my time in Washington, after Speaker Gingrich had moved on, resigning from the House, there was a real fight within the Republican conference. I was serving as a subcommittee chairman on the Veterans Affairs Committee. Then Chairman Chris Smith of New Jersey and I and a handful of others said, wait, and this was a time of economic plenty. We were generating budget surpluses at the time and balanced budgets, but we were insistent on adding $1 billion to veterans health care specifically as a line item in appropriations. That did not sit well with the House leadership, and my friend from New Jersey lost his position as VA chairman. The reason I bring up this past history is this: are we devoting the resources necessary to the care of our veterans, or are we just kind of limping along, in your opinion, members of both parties paying lip service, but when it comes to spending the necessary resources, are we in fact doing that for our veterans?
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up, because we are. There is every single annual budget, when the VA requests their budget, they receive it from Congress. Congress approves their requested budget. And just for some comparison, when the DoD does the same thing, but they never get approved for the exact budget amount that they request. So VA funding has increased 60% since 2009. They have the assets, they have the personnel, and they have the resources provided to them, just as they should. What's lacking in the VA is accountability and management. And that's why the VA Management Accountability Act of 2014, that should come up on a vote here in a couple weeks, it allows the Secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs that authority to hold those top-tier management levels within the VA accountable, so he can fire them. Because right now, once you're through your year probationary period within the VA, it is almost impossible to get fired if you're not performing, if you're a bad employee, if you're cooking the books, as we've seen with some of the most recent scandals, if people have died on your watch. Even when you get placed on administrative leave, you're still often getting paid and receiving bonuses. And so this piece of legislation will allow accountability to come in. It's just one of many steps that need to happen, but it's a step in the right direction for fixing the VA.
So in addition to the power of the purse, Congress has oversight. We're seeing that now with the Veterans Affairs Committee in the House, Chairman Jeff Miller in the committee subpoenaing Secretary Shinseki. Amber Barno, we appreciate you offering your experiences and your perspective on this. We look forward to talking to you in the days ahead. We hope you'll come back here to America's Forum.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Army
veteran and GOP rising star Amber Barno with us. Now, we'd like to get your perspective on the VA healthcare scandal, I should say, and the standard of care for America's vets. Why don't you tweet us your comments at Newsmax TV, # America's Forum. There's also email and Facebook. America's Forum continues.